Well, Bob, initial reaction when Frank Bush called you and you picked up that phone, what were your first thoughts?
Well, it's kind of hard to describe. I was obviously very honored, but a little bit surprised, elated. It's something that you think about, but you don't ever really sometimes think it's going to happen. And it was just interesting when it did to just have that kind of rush of emotion, I guess.
You know, this is not your first rodeo, though.
Right,
I mean, you've been on the staff 3 different times, the Olympic staff. You've been a head coach at major international competitions. How do you think this is going to be different, though? What do you think you can bring to the table to make this team different?
Well, I think that this Olympics probably matches my strengths in that it's going to be a huge logistical challenge. And I tend to have a history of organization and planning to kind of help people be at their best at the critical moment under lots of pressure in a lot of different situations. So I think I'll be able to help people in that way. I also think I have a lot of experience now at the Olympic Games, and that really counts for something because until you've been there, you've been through that experience, it's hard to know what it's going to be like. So I think now I've done it a few times and can share some of my mistakes and some of the things that we've done well.
You know, how would you assess this team looking at it right now based off of what happened this summer? You've got some obvious great veterans, you know, with a lot of returning Olympic gold medalists, individual Olympic gold medalists, and I'll get to Michael in a little bit, but
Sure.
But you also have some good youngsters too. You know, you talk about kids like Dressel and Seliskar, some kids that you've probably never heard of. Conger, a lot of people out there have never heard of now, but are going to hear a lot of next summer. How would you assess this team?
I think it's a team that's entering this Olympics from a little bit different standpoint than we have in the past, in that the last times I have been to the Olympics, we have come into the meet off of extremely strong meets the year before, and this past summer we were a little bit weaker in some areas, and I think we have some challenges that we have to address. But having said that, we have the people who can do that. We have a lot of experience, which really counts, as I just said earlier. And we're going to be able to put together a team that I think has a lot of leadership and has some new blood, which I think is very important for us going forward.
You know, you've been such a successful coach along the way from a club standpoint, obviously internationally, but also college. Now you're stepping into this role at Arizona State. How do you see that balancing out here over the next year?
Well, I think it'll create a lot of excitement at Arizona State. And, you know, we're just sort of getting started there, trying to create a culture of excellence. And this will definitely feed into that. I think it will get the athletes and hopefully some recruits excited about what we're doing. And it'll be something that will lift everyone, not just the pros who are training there, but also the college team.
Let's talk about Michael for a second. You know, the greatest Olympian in history. How do you see his role? You talk about your role, and he obviously, off of San Antonio, what a successful nationals he had, and this whole comeback thing. What do you see his role now going for his, 5th Olympic Games?
It's sort of odd to think of Michael as the senior statesman of the
is.
sport, but that's what he is.
He really is.
And I think he lends a wealth of experience, but also a great example of how to handle your business at the top level for all these young guys and for everyone on the team. And he's always done that. But I think now he's more vocal about helping people with their experience. He's more involved, I think, in what the team's doing, and I think that's going to show.
That's what my observations about Michael, especially since London. The London Michael versus the Beijing Michael was transformational to me.
Yeah.
And I can imagine what it's going to be like in 2016. And I know you're expecting big leadership from him.
I am. Well, you know, the Beijing Michael had to be a machine.
Right.
You just don't get through that program without focusing 100% on what you're doing.
That's
and I think by London, program was a little different, situation was different, he could open up more, and I think you're going to see that even more in Rio.
Let's talk about favorite Olympic moments. I mean, you're going to have a lot of favorites a year from now, but leading up to now, I think a lot of people are curious, what's been, and that's hard to say because you've had your own athlete, obviously, and you've also had some athletes as part of the coaching staff. Is there one that kind of stands out?
Well, there are a couple, but, you know, honestly, Michael's first gold medal in the 400 IM at Athens still stands out to me. That was just an example of a kid who had worked very hard, had lived the dream, had done everything you want him to do, had gone there, broken world record, won a gold medal first time out, and his smile, I see it today like it was yesterday.
You know, we talked a little bit about it at the beginning about you've done this before. What have you learned most about yourself as a coach and as a person being on the staff, the Olympic staff 3 times?
I think that what you learn most about yourself as well as a person is that it's not about me at all. Right. It's only about the athletes. So every decision I make is this going to help our team be better? And if it is, we do it. If it's not, stay away from it. It sounds kind of basic, but it's something that's so important at that moment, because the Olympics are about getting a predictable and kind of normal performance in an environment that is completely unpredictable and abnormal for these athletes or anyone. So as a coach, you have to always be mindful of that. You want to give them something that they can feel confident in and they can, you know, do their best effort, but you also want to help them be adaptable, because things are always changing and you get surprises thrown at you all the time. So I think I've learned to be a lot more flexible in what I think the conditions are for success, and I'd like to help the team understand that as well. They're not very narrow. You can be successful in a lot of different situations.
We'll talk a lot more about this later on at the press conference, but what made you want to be a swim coach? I mean, I know you were a swimmer, swam at Florida State, and grew up with a tremendous amount of dedication as a swimmer. But what was that moment where you said, "Gosh, I really want to coach"?
You know, I think I knew I wanted to coach when I was very young. And the reason was I absolutely loved the process of it. I loved going to early morning practices. I loved the training. I loved the idea that you get out what you put in. I loved the people that we were with when we were training and growing up. And that's what really led me to it. And I think I always thought as a coach, even when I was swimming, I was thinking as a coach, and that really hurt my swimming, actually. I could have just given myself a break. I was always analyzing everything. But I think the process of training, setting goals, working towards those things, that's what led me to coaching.
Did you ever think you'd be sitting here right now talking
Never.
about being an Olympic head coach?
I did not.
Unbelievable.
It's been quite a journey.
Quite a journey indeed. Congratulations, Bob. We're looking forward, and we're going to see a lot of you over the next year.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Really appreciate it.